Check out this video if you want to learn more about clear knowing, also known as claircognizance. And make sure you stay right to the end of this video where I'll be giving you one simple exercise to help you develop this clair on your own. Hey, I'm Amanda from theintuitivewife.com, holistic health practitioner, past life regression facilitator, and spiritual coach, working with women to help bust through their energetic blocks and finally live their soul purpose. If you're watching this video, it could be because you're new to this whole intuition, intuitive development, psychic abilities, metaphysical world. Pick a name, any name. And if you are, then let me just quickly go over what the clairs are. So just like how we all have our main senses, sight, smell, touch, etc., we're all intuitive and we all have the ability to develop and deepen our intuition further. Our intuition, the way I picture it in my head, is broken down into tiers. So if you pick it apart, it all has its own little section. To say that you're intuitive is great, but the clairs is describing how you're receiving that information. Are you receiving it by listening, by hearing it? Are you receiving it by a sense of knowing? Or are you receiving the information by physically feeling the answer? So that's essentially what a clair is. It's a sensitive sense, and it's a way to describe how you receive your intuitive information. Okay, so let's dive into claircognizance and what it is. And I'm keeping account of how many times I'm going to mess up the word claircognizance because it's a little bit of a mouthful. Claircognizance is known as clear knowing, and it is the most, or at least one of the most, doubted clairs because it's the hardest to prove. Clear knowing is really just a sense of actually knowing. You feel it in your bones. This is the right answer or the wrong answer. It's when something just pops into your head. You just suddenly know the answer and you can't explain how you know it, you just do. It's almost like this poof of knowledge in your head. Because it comes out of nowhere, that's how you know that it's claircognizance, as opposed to just a random thought in your head. Thought is conscious. You're consciously thinking about something, where claircognizance, when it kicks in, it's just boom, out of the blue, and in most cases is completely unrelated to what you were just thinking of. Now, usually when people talk about intuition, they automatically refer to their gut feeling, which is true, and even I've been guilty of it in previous videos and blog posts. When I refer to intuition, I say it's this gut, this just knowing. And somewhere along the lines, when I was in school, I don't know if it was taught to me or just an assumption that I suddenly had, was that we all have our left brain and our right brain, our logical side and our creative side. And somewhere along the lines, I started to believe that if you were a logical thinker, you couldn't be intuitive because your brain and your senses were butting heads, I guess. And intuition isn't considered to be logical. But if you are a logical or analytical thinker, this is why claircognizance may be your dominant clair. Signs of being claircognizant are having an analytical or logical mind. You tend to solve problems without really knowing the answer, but you focus in on it and you hate walking away from something unanswered. So you're very much the problem solver in the group. You may have experienced a strong feeling of something being true or not true. For example, being offered a job could be on paper the most amazing job, but something inside of you is telling you absolutely do not take this job offer. Something like that is considered to be claircognizance. Another sign you may be claircognizant is that you're considered a lifelong learner. You love learning from books and seminars. You tend to soak up knowledge very, very easily. You may find that you're quick at learning musical instruments. You're good at writing. Things just flow to you. You seem to remember the musical notes and the sequences very, very well. You could also be claircognizant if you are someone who has something pop in your head just completely out of the blue and you get so excited about it and you have to go write it down immediately, otherwise it's gone. It'll be gone forever. You'll forget what it was. That's a good sign of claircognizance. Same with if you find that people tend to come to you for advice and you have conversations with them, and by the time you've gotten to the end of the conversation, you've completely forgotten what you've said. That's usually because the information was downloaded or channeled through you, and it's gone. It's normal. And speaking of thoughts just being gone, erased from your mind, another way to know that you may be claircognizant is if you are someone who constantly interrupts other people, completely unintentionally, usually, because as you're having the conversation, something just completely pops in your head and you need to get it out because you know you're going to forget it. So you find that you're actually interrupting other people just so you can get your thought out. You may also notice that when you get these great ideas that are so exciting to you, it's when you're in a very relaxed state. You could be in the shower, or you're falling asleep, or just waking up, and that's because that's when we're most relaxed and we let our guard down. And the last sign that you may be claircognizant is if you're someone who likes to be alone with their thoughts. You may consider yourself to be a deep thinker. You need to mull things over. That's usually a good sign of claircognizance. Let me know in the comments, does this sound like you? And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video so far. Also, you can learn about the other clairs by clicking on the link down below to grab your Revive Your Intuition workbook. It's a workbook that covers claircognizance, clairtangency, clairaudience, clairsentience, and clairvoyance. The workbook describes what the clairs are and provides you with exercises to help you develop each clair individually, which they end up tying into each other eventually anyway. But the workbook also includes journal prompts for each one to help you really tune in to yourself and your abilities and to really recognize your progress and how intuitive you really are. Now, whether or not you are already claircognizant, you absolutely have the ability to develop this clair even further. And the best exercise I can think of to help you develop this is automatic writing. If you don't know what automatic writing is, please check out the video. I'll put it in the description bar below. It is essentially a way to communicate with spirit. This is a great way to help you receive and interpret information. And you know what? As a bonus tip number 2, another exercise is meditation. And the reason this is such a good exercise is because it helps you really quiet your mind. And if you're able to focus, then you'll be able to see the difference between your conscious thought and thoughts that are just randomly inserted in there, just popping into your head. So meditation is also a really great exercise to help you develop your claircognizance. While you're meditating, you can just quiet your mind and just see what comes through, see what just randomly pops into your head. Or you can ask a question and just wait and see what comes to your mind. So some people get a little bit irritated when they're sitting in meditation and they're just waiting and waiting and waiting. So if you feel that you're starting to get a little frustrated, or maybe you don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to this, then I would suggest starting the meditation by setting an intention and then asking a question. The important thing is to try your best to remain relaxed and try not to force it. It's just going to make you more irritated because they are on their own schedule. Forcing spirit doesn't work, ever. If you're just getting started with claircognizance or clairs in general, clair development, then click on the video on your screen, which is all about clairtangency. It's the first video of this series, and personally, I think it is the easiest and best clair to get started with. I'll put the link for that video in the description box below. This channel is all about intuitive development, woo-woo, metaphysical, so if that's something you're interested in and you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit like and subscribe.